Roll.
Dave drops back. Corner, end zone, touchdown!
Hello again, everybody. I'm Evan Massoud. Welcome back inside the studio for the Fred TV Sports Report. The Fribble playoffs continued this week with the Braves and Twins finally getting to play Game 3 of their best-of-3 semifinal round. These two veteran teams have been part of the league for over a decade, with many of the players from both sides still playing. In fact, they were playing before I started covering Fribble 12 years ago. Game 1 went to the Twins. Game 2 went to the Braves. Game 3, a sudden death matchup with the winner advancing to the finals. We'll pick it up in the bottom of the first. Braves batting, looking to get off to the fast start. 1 on, 1 out for Josh Blaze. Good extension here as he drives it out to deep left center. Mike Del Ponte motoring around third. He'll score from first as the Braves get on the board early. 1-0 after 1. Top 3 now. After 2 quick outs, the Twins getting a rally started. They earned a bases-loaded walk to tie the game, and that set up Scott Mello with a 2-out opportunity, and he cashes in. Going to take the curveball here the other way and drop it into right. 2 runs coming home. Austin Frazado and Mitch Walsh cross the plate, and the Twins lead 3-1. Next up at the dish is Colin Lariano. Wants to keep it going, gets a good pitch to hit, drives it high and deep down the line. Josh Blaze tracking it into the corner, into foul ground, and he makes the running grab in front of the fence. This would prove to be a huge out in the game to end the threat. Now, not to be outdone, bottom half of the inning, 2 outs, fly ball deep to center off the bat of Eric Lebrault. Check out this play from Darian Rogers. Tell you, we saw some great defense here in Game 3. Both teams throwing it down. Bottom 4 now, Brian Quinn in a jam with 2 on. Quick move to first, and he picks off Adam Crisafulli on a bang-bang play. The Braves would not score in the inning. But despite Quinn tossing a gem, one of his best games we've seen over the years, the Braves would mount a comeback. A 2-run eighth took a 1-0 lead into the 9th inning. 1-run lead, I should say, crushing the Twins' hopes to compete for the title. Braves win Game 3 4-3, take the series 2-1. As we pull up the updated brackets, it's going to be another Dodgers versus Braves final round, a rematch from each of the last 2 seasons. The Dodgers have not played since August 1st because the Smokies forfeited the semis, so the Dodgers have literally been sitting and waiting for this series to finish. Now, the good news is many of the Fribble players are on teams in other leagues as well, so it shouldn't hurt the defending champs too much. Now, for the Braves, this is their 7th consecutive finals appearance. Should be a great series between the 2 best teams in the league this summer. Championship round begins Sunday with Game 1 at Chew Park. Now, a couple weeks ago, the Borden Light Marina held its annual charity poker run, and as a lifelong motorsports and racing fan, this is quickly becoming one of my favorite events to cover each summer. Now, while it's not competition racing like when Offshore Powerboat Association brought the Fall River Grand Prix here a few years back, there's something about roaring motors and boats going down the river at 60+ miles an hour that gets the adrenaline flowing, even for reporters. Now, this year was the biggest year for Michael and Nicole Lund, the owners of the marina, with $70,000 raised, crushing the previous high mark, which was in the 40s. The funds went to Make-A-Wish here in Mass and Rhode Island, as well as the Gray Hill Foundation. And this year was extra special as, for the first time, the Lunds made a wish come true at the event. Just prior to the boats taking off, 8-year-old Philip was given his dream trip to Washington, D.C. to visit the White House. Now, the boats left the marina one by one, staged outside Battleship Cove on the other side of the Braga, our Fred TV drone taking you out over the water. Then they took off fast and furious towards Mount Hope Bay, leaving nothing but a wake and some ocean mist behind. Drivers would make 4 stops along the south coast of Rhode Island before returning to the marina, the 5th and final stop. Greg Ugner of Taunton won the $3,500 first prize, and he, in turn, donated it right back as well. Over 250 volunteers and sponsors helped make this poker run the biggest one yet. So congratulations to the Lunds and all of their staff at Board and Light Marina and Pier 52. Cooperstown, the site of the National Baseball Hall of Fame. It is without a doubt a quintessential example of nostalgia and history all rolled into one package. A place where players, young and old, aspire to one day be enshrined. This past spring, I and one of our sports photographers, David Montero, made the trip to upstate New York with the Durfee and Case baseball teams to document their visit to the museum and provide live coverage of their exhibition game at Doubleday Field. Would it be too corny to say the trip was a grand slam, or did I just strike out? You decide. Take a look. 2 busloads of high school players and coaches strolled into the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, many for the first time. But for Durfee head coach Mike Martin, he's actually been here now almost a dozen times. One of the first stops on the self-guided tour is the Grandstand Theater, which features a short film, one that coach says still gives him goosebumps.
When you hear someone like Nolan Ryan say that when the ball released his fingers, he knew the batter had no chance. And the confidence, like, to say that and let them know, like, everybody that's in here, they each had that, and that's what it takes, is that supreme confidence. And so coming here, seeing what could be, you know, and you hear Juan Marichal say to come from a little island and make it all the way to Cooperstown, like, anybody can do it if you really work hard enough and you dream.
That kind of confidence is not an easy thing to teach, regardless of age or playing level. But it's something that separates the good players from the elite players. The key is the player must be willing to learn and grow. JV head coach Bill Thran hopes his players get as much out of this trip as he did when he was a young player.
Learning about the history of baseball, the evolution of the game, and then making connections, you know, to the players that they come and watch today. I think that's always the fun part, and then to start that dialogue, have that conversation, and those fun arguments about, you know, would Bryce Harper to be able to get a hit off Satchel Paige, you know, who's better, those type of things. So that's always fun to have with the kids.
That correlation, the bridging of the gap from Hall of Famers of yesteryear to today's All-Stars, is paramount to helping student athletes not only understand the game, but their role on the team as well. According to Coach Martin, every role is important, from the starting pitcher in a championship game to this example he gives us about being a pinch hitter in a late game situation.
Your batting gloves, that bat, that should be in your hand the whole time you're in the dugout. As you're sitting and watching and you're mentally timing the pitcher, you're putting yourself into the situation. What separates good players from great players and great players from elite players and elite players from Hall of Fame players is how many things they can think about in between pitches. How many situations can they run through their head to be prepared for in between pitches? And, you know, I see that at my lowest levels of 9U, 10U kids that I coach all the way up. Like, some kids have that ability.
Coach went on to explain that some kids also simply have an innate ability to hit the ball without the mental aspect. In this case, it's all mechanical, and that's okay too. Eli Chase finished his career as a Durfee athlete last season, having graduated in June. Baseball is in his blood. In fact, his grandfather is the JV coach at Case, something he says has been invaluable as a developing player. He's learned how to respect the game and to remember that it's more than just balls and strikes.
He's been teaching me a lot throughout my life about baseball and just the history of the game, how to conduct yourself, and also just, you know, seeing all these great players. You know, I get a lot of that from him, and it's definitely special to be in that experience right now and just to see all the history behind this great game. It can kind of teach you the life lessons of just hard work and, you know, dedicating yourself to a little craft. You know, hitting a baseball is considered to be one of the hardest things in sports. So I think it's definitely a motivating factor to see that it can change your life. You know, playing at a higher level and just playing the game for the love of it.
Anytime you can learn and then find some of that respect for the game that hopefully a lot of the kids walk away with being, wow, this was really cool. I learned something today, and hopefully it motivates them to further their career and push themselves a little bit harder.
And on the day after the tour around town, despite the first of 2 game slots being rained out, both teams were finally able to get in 9 innings at historic Doubleday Field. Varsity played the first 5, and JV subbed in for the final 4, with every player in attendance getting time on the turf. Case took the win in the exhibition game, 3-2. The nearly 90-year-old baseball shrine celebrated another induction class last month, with 3 of my favorite players from the last 25 years being immortalized in the hallowed hall. First baseman Todd Helton of the Rockies, catcher Joe Mauer of the Twins, and third baseman Adrian Beltre, who spent 2010 right here in Boston with the Red Sox. 1997 World Series champion manager Jim Leyland was also inducted on July 21st. Now, former Philly great Billy Wagner, one of the best closers to do it, moved up in votes but fell short by just 1.2%. Additionally, the Ford C. Frick Award was presented this year to WEEI Red Sox radio broadcaster Joe Castiglione, who's been calling games here on local radio for over 40 years. Now, Durfee last made this trip in 2019, but they never got to play due to inclement weather, a chance you take in April here in the Northeast. But this year, despite the elements, both teams got on the field. I'm so glad we were able to be there. Now, in the weeks after the game, an alumni baseball game was held right here at Durfee's Skip Lewis Field as a fundraiser to help defray some of the costs. Our cameraman Daniel Keating got these shots you see here. According to JV baseball coach Bill Thran, there were former Hilltoppers from 5 different decades who showed up for the morning exhibition. Current coaches got in on the action as well, like Devin Sanders and Corey Cardero. Even some father-son duos, like our athletic director Brad Buston and his son Braden. Through their support, as well as some support from private donors, close to $1,500 was raised to back pay expenses from the trip. And we will stay here at Durfee for the next segment, summer football. The Troy City Titans had their last regular season home game on Saturday, and since the full broadcast we brought you last month, the team has played solid ball, winning 3 of 5. And mind you, that's after an 0-3 start. So it just goes to show you the difference between a healthy team versus a team battling injuries to key players. Titans and Generals set to kick off Game 9 of the summer from a muggy Mac Aldridge Field. Scoreless at the start of the second quarter, but Titans looking at a 3rd and goal from the 5. Anthony Comer drops back, mobile in the pocket, slings it to his right, finding Kevin Vega in stride on the crossing route. Troy City on the scoreboard first, point after right down Main Street, make it 7-0 Titans. Now next possession for the Valley Generals, not a good one. Second play of the drive, Titans bring pressure from the blind side. Matthew Sapere goes down. The ball comes loose thanks to Shang Barletta. It's recovered by Troy City and brought back into the red zone. More tough defense from this team. You can see the sidelines. They are fired up at the end of the play, and for good reason. Titans would take over. They're not waiting around. AC takes the snap, quickly airs it out to the corner. Ryan Donovan does the rest. A tremendous diving catch for the touchdown. Another successful extra point puts them up 14-0. The home team makes it 4 wins in their last 6 games with a 28-15 victory over the second place Generals. With the win, the Titans remain deadlocked in a tie for 3rd. But what's more impressive is they could finish with a 500 record if they pull out a win next week. And they'll have some help along the way, as the first place Eagles will play the Destroyers next week, who are tied with Troy City. That game actually tomorrow. And the Titans will rematch against the Hitmen tomorrow as well. They're the team we saw in July on the broadcast. Troy City has a great chance at climbing back from last place in 0-3 to finishing at 5-5 and in sole possession of 3rd place. So good luck to the Titans in their final regular season game tomorrow night at Trinity Stadium in Haverhill. It starts at 6 p.m. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the shows this summer, but with the school year beginning next week, Friday will have to be our last before we resume our full game coverage of high school sports. On the next edition, some news from Durfee as the Big Three makes a return, a one-on-one with a college All-American track star who got his athletic career started right here at Durfee, and preseason talks with many of our Durfee coaches. We hit a lot of practices this week, so join me 1 week from tonight for our final studio show of the summer. Thanks for tuning in this evening. For our crew, Alex Mello, David Montero, and director Mike Ferreira, I'm Evan Massoud. I wish my colleagues and our students all the best as we begin another school year together next Wednesday.